Welcome back to the Bilal Vakani Hour on Canada Talks Sirius XM 167. Joined now by Jay Stoyan. He's the founder of the Disability Channel. If you didn't know by now, you're not listening to me closely enough, but he is. Jay, you have yet another cool person to introduce our audience to, so I'll just throw it over to you, my friend, and just kick my feet up. Go ahead.
Thank you, Bilal. Again, thank you for this opportunity to come on Sirius XM. What a vast audience you have right across North America. And we are really excited as we have a brand new spanking relationship with the AMG boss, chairman, founder, Mark S. Barry is going to join us today. So, Mark, thanks for coming on today. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Pleasure to be here, guys.
I love his background. Look at his background. The guy's got about 1,000 gold records back there. It's amazing. So I've been into his studios.
We got a little hardware over here.
Oh, yeah. You got some big names on the wall there. So again, me and Mark, and I want to thank another Mark. I want to thank Mark from Big Records for introducing us. He's all the way out in BC. Right. Big thumbs up to the boys out in BC. Thanks for introducing us, Mark Rosner. Check them out, Big Records. So Mark introduced me and Mark through the entertainment world, through the channel. We're all about television. We're all about music. We're all about giving people opportunities, employment opportunities. So I went down to see Mark regarding the veteran angle, the veterans, what's going out in BC with the Invictus Games, as we were part of the media scrum in 2017, and we are planning to support it again in 2025. Very exciting news coming regarding that. So I went down to see Mark. I'm also a published author, so I brought down my book, Flanagans, right?
All right.
So it's Flanagans, Life Inside an Irish Street Gang. Now, it is fiction. It is fiction, so I don't want to scare all the boys and girls out there, right? It is fiction, right? So right now we're doing some work, and we're going to talk about that later in the show. But I really want to get back to the Disability Channel and our involvement with Mark and music. So right now, and Bilal, you're a big part of this. We all know that our Today Show now is expanding on the Disability Channel 5 days a week. And we're going to be showcasing all type of elements and all type of hot topics. So what's going on in the accessibility world, what's going on in the world in general. Then we're going to flare off to different subjects like sports, music, veterans, and going back to music. So Mark AMG is going to be joining us on a regular segment, like not every week, and this update is what's going on in the music world, what's going on in the film world, television world. I love the way Mark has combined the three. And what I'd like to do now is hand it over to Mark and let him explain the industry, and then let Bilal jump in and ask some questions. So Mark, take it away. Just tell our viewers a little bit of what you do on an everyday, day-to-day basis.
Sure. So AMG is a music, film, and television company. And based upon my background in the music and my contacts and network over many years. And so I still produce the occasional record, but we're also doing films and television shows, and getting very involved in the film world. So we did The Sacrifice Game with Mina Masood that came out in December. We did that for AMC Shudder. We're executive producers on that, and we're also the music supervisors. So any films that we get involved with as an executive producer, we of course try to lend our expertise to them from a musical background, finding the right songs for the right scenes and things like, and then going to clear those masters and copyrights for inclusion into the film. And then this past Friday, to a great success, we had Bloodline Killer. And that's with Tyrese Gibson from Fast and the Furious and multi-Academy Award nominee Bruce Dern. So we got that out. That came out Friday, limited run theatrical, and on major streaming channels now as well. So that's up and running. And then we have right now, which we just closed the financial deal on, is a documentary called Sweat It Out. And you'll love this, Jay. It's a documentary on the Australian pub rock scene of the 70s and early 80s. So like early AC/DC, early Jimmy Barnes, early NXS, just some great rock bands from down under. So we're involved as executive producers on that as well, where we help put the financing in place, some of the financing, They came to us after they were partially financed. So, and that's like our wheelhouse in the film world as well. As somebody they come to us with a $3 million film, whatever. They've raised 2.5 million. They need 500,000 to, drag the film across the finish line. We work with a Wall Street investor who invests in our film properties based on our successful track record, and we put the deal together. And the majority of our films are done that way across the board. We do a lot of music supervision, so people come to us with music for our publishing catalog, and then we get that music into films, television programs, video games, advertisements, movie trailers, wherever we can generate, third-party revenue for the master and copyright that the band or artist owns. So we do a lot of that as well. So, and that's
very interesting
in a nutshell. And then we have a development department as well. And that development department eyeballs properties. And gets them into the company to develop them to a certain point where we have actors on board, we have a script on board, we have a director on board. One project we're doing now is a film on Smokin' Joe Frazier from the 70s on his fights with Muhammad Ali.
You next, Joe. You next, Joe.
And so we're doing that.
Before Bilal jumps in, I just want to make this point that, like, Mark is the top cheese, right? He is the chairman of the board, AMG founder. He's got contacts, like you just said, around the world. And you know how easy it was to connect with Mark? Bilal, I've never connected with such a powerful person so easily, so graciously, so kind. Like, call him up. And he called me back and come on down and meet me, Jay. And we went down and we have just like you don't get through doors with people who have that type of influence or power normally. So in order, I just wanted to say that, Mark, what a breath of fresh air, my friend.
Right. Well, we're only as good as the people we surround ourselves with. So
wow,
and we're always looking for new ideas and properties to get involved in. So our door is always open. Hey, I'm a street kid from Brooklyn. That's how we do it.
Jump in, Bilal.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's funny, Mark, because I'm sitting here and I'm going to talk about in a moment your journey to where you are now. And to put it into perspective, I'm going to tell you my journey in short is I was born in a hospital in Toronto and I went to Toronto Metropolitan University. And those are about one subway stop apart. And then to get to Sirius XM, I can just stop on the streetcar and I'm there. So right. My journey is nothing. Your journey is going through high school, going through this Institute of Audio Research, which I haven't even heard of before. And then when you're done that, you go to London, England, you grind it out there for, I think, about half a decade, and you come back to New York, the New York area. It's going to be very difficult for you to try to tell us about that journey in a minute or two, but I'm going to ask you to do it anyways.
Okay. So very quickly, I didn't want to go to Vietnam. Right. So that was a raging war when I was a teenager. So I went to I went to my dad. My dad and I would always listen to records together and stuff. And I said, how come the drums are over here, Dad? And how come the vocals are over there in that speaker? My dad was like, I don't know. Go find out. I don't know. So I found the school in New York, Institute of Audio Research at 64 University Place down by NYU, just south of 14th Street. And I went into the city at nights and I registered, and I 3 nights a week I was in at this class. Oddly, we did our workshops at Vanguard Studios, which is where I worked for 12 years when I came back from England. So I did that. And then as soon as I did so I was down there around 16 and a half. And then I went to, graduated from high school, graduated from the Institute. By the way, the Institute, you mentioned that you never heard of it. It's actually not there anymore. It's kind of like the Irv Deal passed away, and he was like the main guy there. But I heard they're trying to resurrect the school. But a lot of guys reach out to me on LinkedIn every once in a while from it. So that I didn't want to go to Vietnam, so I just got on a plane. Day after I graduated from high school, had a bunch of names, studio names written down from, Elton John record. Where was that done? Led Zeppelin. Where was that done? And then I just started pounding on doors when I was over there. And then luckiest kid in the world. I walked into a studio. The studio manager wasn't there. They said, come back tomorrow. I come back the next day. The receptionist isn't there. So I'm walking down the main hallway of the studio, and kid comes out, and, who are you? Who are you? Tell him who I am. Oh, you're American. Da, da, da. Where are you from? New York. Oh, I love New York. Come on in. And that's so he invited me in, and the first session I was in on was like an Alan Clark session from the lead singer for the Hollies, and he was doing a solo record, and I just kind of hung out there, and then I came back the next day, and came back the next day, and came back the next day, and I was just getting cigarettes for people and coffee, and stuff like that, and then Joyce Moore, the studio manager, came to me and said, people really like you. Do you want a job? I said, I want a job. What are you kidding me? Of course I want a job. And then that was my start of working at Air, and then they assigned me to Sir George Martin, and I was doing a lot of Sir George things from the King's Singers, which is this chamber Baroque choir group where we set up little mobile recording studios in cathedrals around London just to get the different acoustics, and of course, and then I worked on Live and Let Die with Sir Paul McCartney, and set up all the mics, and had to put the music stands and put the ashtrays, because back then you get smoke in the studios and stuff. So had to set up all the ashtrays around, and get the band in there, and it was a big day, a big day.
Your career is so impressive. I just recommend people Google you. But I will say you have over 36 gold and platinum awards to your credit. And I have a series of questions I could ask you about all of that, but we're going to run out of time. So I'd rather just throw some abstract questions at you about the music industry, and then maybe we'll just come back one day and we'll talk more about that stuff, because music today, genres are merging. You had that experience of being an American going to the UK and coming back to America, and certainly picking up sounds and rhythms and beats and probably things I'm not even thinking of. But to see the world we have now, where, one day you might turn on an alt rock channel and there'll be a Taylor Swift song on because she did a collab with someone, and you're thinking, did I put the wrong channel? Is what I thought literally yesterday. But it's just so fluid now, and it's so beautiful. Is this sort of a golden age in music for you we're living in right now, or has that always been there and we're just more connected to it?
No, I think it's definitely the golden age. Absolutely. There's a lot of merging. You're seeing artists from different genres being nominated for Grammys in another genre, and people are scratching their heads, saying, what's going on? But what's going on is the merging of cultures and sound, and producers have a lot to do with it. And it's a lot easier to make records today with the digital. Back in the day, you had to go back, you had to hire a studio, go into the studio, had to have an engineer there, hire a producer. As an engineer, which is really where I made my name prior to producing, I don't do it anymore, because I didn't follow that digital curve. I use it for sure, but I wasn't the engineer that was down there, because when we were making records back in the day, we had one LA2A, we had one 1176, we had one Pultec, and you put them on specific thing: a voice, a bass, a foot, a bass drum, But now that Pultec is across 128 tracks, so you're hearing that same sound on everything, and there's just dynamic issues, and just the way people used to use tape to record. You would line up to +6, so that when you're really at 0, you're really actually at +6. So you're embedding the tape with a louder sound, and it's coming back off the tape louder. That was back in the day. But now if you overload the digital thing, it's just white noise.
Really quickly here, because I know you have an announcement as well. I've seen, and I might be mixing this up, so this might just be my brain not working, but I've seen some chatter that maybe in the 80s lyrics were more repetitive or they're more repetitive now. I've either read two articles or my brain has just misremembered the article. Are lyrics more repetitive now than they were in the 80s, or were they more repetitive in the 80s? Because I can see arguments for both, and I'm very
I think they're more repetitive now than in the 80s.
He would know. He would know.
Yeah, well, you didn't have the merging of the musical cultures back in those days, right? Yeah, like hard rock, you had blues. Now all these different musical genres are being mixed together, to create great music. Grammy nominated, Grammy winning, new music.
I appreciate that because I should have just Googled it, but it's in my head. So I'm glad I was able to ask an expert about it. I do have to let you go in a minute because I'm just terrible at managing time, but I know you have a big announcement, so I'll shut up. The time is yours.
Okay, so basically we've picked up a property called the Flanagans, about street gangs from Montreal from back in the day, and we picked it up with Jay, who wrote the actual book, and so we brought that into AMG Visuals, which is our film arm, and we're developing that into a multi-episodic miniseries for television. So that's a great property. It's a great book. Some very interesting stories, which we think will make for compelling television, kind of like cliffhanger type television. So that's what we're after, and we thank Jay for bringing the great story to us.
People can't see this, but Jay has printouts of everything, and he's just been flashing them to us throughout the interview. That's how excited he is.
I do, because we're going to be promoting it on the Today Show starting May 6th, 5 days a week. And this is also going to be an element, a song that I wrote called Shining Light, Overcoming Personal Struggles. You're also going to be seeing that in a television series somewhere, some way, somehow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're very excited. So I want to thank Mark, like both Marks, but Mark and Dwayne, these guys, Mark and Dwayne, the guys that run AMG, they just know their stuff, and they're so nice. Their door's always open. It's a really a breath of fresh air, Bilal, to deal with these two guys. Like, I'm not saying other people aren't nice too, but you like to deal with people who are genuine, who are real, right? You can give them a handshake, look them in the eye, and have a nice conversation with them and move forward together. So I really thank Mark and Dwayne and the team, Big Records, and of course you, Bilal, for giving us always the time to come on and share our stories. And again, this is going to create employment opportunities for Disability Channel graduates, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's the kicker. That's what I'm super proud of, is I'm going to have. And I'm not saying like, the whole, because, you got to have your experts involved, but any PA positions and all that my graduates, either person with disabilities or veterans, they're all in. So I really want to thank you, Bilal.
We're in overtime. Go ahead, Mark.
Let me just jump in. A key integral part here at AMG is Dwayne Farley, who's the executive vice president, and he's involved in the day-to-day operations of the company and dealing with not only the musician side, but the script writers, deals with the financial side as well with our investor on a consistent basis for the film properties and TV properties that we're involved in.
Two great founders, Jay Stoyan from the Disability Channel and Mark Berry from AMG. Great pleasure to talk to you both. And it's a factual thing because I've used up all the time I have in my show. Like, I'm at the absolute limit here. So have a great week, everybody. And please listen to me next week as well. And thank you both for your time today.